I would say as long as you learn from your investment, as long as you learn from it, there is no bad investment because you taught yourself either what to do or what not to do. If you don't learn from it, then every investment is probably bad because you're just gambling, throwing money everywhere.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Alex Tremble, an executive coach, best-selling author, and founder of GPS Leadership Solutions, where he helped senior leaders turn their executive teams into high-trust, high-performance powerhouses. With a background in industrial and organizational psychology, Alex works with SVPs and COOs from 50 million plus organizations to help eliminate silos, speed up decision-making, and create lasting behavior change through executive retreats, coaching, and his proven TP3 framework, which is trust, proactivity, and productivity. And it's a pleasure for me to have him on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Alex.
What's going on, Rexhen?
It's a pleasure, man, to have you on the show, and thank you for coming. I want to know more about what inspired you to become a coach, a leadership coach, and then start your own leadership coaching business.
You know, it all started when I was in 1985 when I was born. My mom, joking. So again, thank you so much for bringing on me here. It's going to be a fun time. So long story short, my first job as a quote unquote adult was to create and manage the executive leadership development program for the U.S. Department of the Interior, as well as managing 3 government-wide executive leadership development programs. And I got that opportunity when I was 23 years old, which made absolutely no sense. But it doesn't matter because I got that opportunity and I was able to thrive in that role. Like, I was able to thrive initially because I understood that I didn't need to be the expert in the room. My job was really to just be around these amazing leaders, the most successful, influential leaders in both private and public sector, and just provide them with the space to grow and refine their leadership skills. I did that for about 5 years before being asked to actually shift positions and serve as a chief of staff at a very political national park within the United States. Mm-hmm. And as I was in that role, again, working with Congress, working with the White House, working with amazing executive leaders across the country, I attended this training, which was really cool because I'd already been coaching, kind of mentoring executives at that point. That was my job before. But I went to this training and it was so cool because I was actually not a great student because the role I was in was pretty influential. There was a big thing going on. So I kept running in and out the room dealing with fires, working with congressional members and so on and so forth. And at the end of the training, everyone was going around the room. They were like, hey, they were just sharing what they loved about the training. But it was so weird because like every other person said how amazing Alex was. And I'm like, what? I was really kind of surprised. They're like, Alex, why are you in the class? You should be teaching this class. Like, I thought they were going to hate me because I was always out. And they were just saying how amazing, how they really thought what I was bringing to the course was really impactful. And so one of those individuals was an actual executive, former military general. He was an executive coach. And he was like, Alex, like, you need to be doing this full time. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. I'm waiting until I want to formalize this once I'm, when I'm 50 years old, something like that. And I got some gray hair and then it would be so easy. And they were like, dude, do this now. And the instructor said the same thing to Alex, like, you got to do this now. Like, you're just providing so much value. And so what happened was a month later, they called me and said, hey, Alex, one of our coaches called out. We're doing this big group coaching session for all these executives. Would you mind coming down here? And I was like, are you sure? He said, yeah. Like, I came down there, blew it out the water, worked with that organization for about 3 years as I started growing my own. And it's been off to the races, just realizing, again, we're going to talk about this, but understanding who you need to serve and who you're meant to serve and how you do it is like that's the cool thing about doing this type of work.
And so how many years has it been since you started doing it full time, actually, like with your own GPS leadership solutions?
Shoot, GPS has been around for the last now 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you a funny story is, so I started off doing both coaching and training and like workshops and whatnot. And I remember there was a time, a long period of years that I actually stopped coaching formally. People will still come to me. I still advise them, mentor them, but I stopped coaching formally. And that's because I brought these people in. There was these two clients in particular, and they were at the senior leadership level, but their organization wouldn't support their development. So I was like, you know what? Here, I'll give you a discount. And I gave them a crazy discount. I think it was like I was going to coach them for like 5 months for like $3,000 or something like that. And what ended up happening was I hated my life because I believe in like total service and over delivering. And so I invest so much into my clients, but at such a reduced rate, it was hard. It was so hard to provide them the level of support that they needed to reach their goals while also being from a revenue standpoint. It was just like, it didn't make sense. After that situation, I actually stopped coaching for a few years because I was like, this money doesn't work out right for
Mm-hmm.
what I want to provide for my clients. And then I remember I was at this conference and I met this amazing woman. We're sitting down together, having a good time. Da, da, da. We wrap up. She says bye, exchange information. About a month later, she calls me. She was a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company. And she said, hey, Alex, I'm going through a rough time, big transition happening. Would you mind coaching me? And I gave her my straight up, like, this is my fee. Very senior level executive. This is my fee. And she said, okay, what do I pay? And it was like, good. Good. There was no negotiations. There is no, well, can you give me a discount? It was, Alex, you have this service that's been really helpful for me in our informal relationships. Can you help me be successful in my team? That went on for about 4 months. Her and I was working together for about 4 months before she then introduced me to one of her VPs. And I got him as a coach. So now I had two people in this big Fortune 500, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, all because I understood that again, this is different for every coach. There are coaches who I know who charge like, this is not a bad thing or good thing, $200 a month, something like that. And they'll do a quick 10-minute check-in. Like that's if that's what works for you and your clients, then great. For the people who I work with, these are extremely successful executives who require a substantial ROI on their time. And you have to be able to serve them at the level that they deserve. Otherwise, you're wasting their time. And so I have to make sure that I can only take on so many clients so I can make sure that I'm always there with the capacity to support them in reaching their goals.
Cool. And so right now you're back at it full time, and you just like improved also your ratings so that is no longer an issue for you. Working with your clients right now, throughout these years, what do you find the most rewarding since you like going through your coaching journey with them? What is that you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
I have to provide a bit of context to this. When I was younger, when GPS first started off, I was really passionate about helping. I worked with executives all the time, but I also wanted to work with you, like younger people. I'm like, if I had what I have now when I was that young, I'd be a freaking rock star, right? And so I work with youth. And so I did like all these conferences and these honor societies. They would bring me in and talk to that. And one time I got asked to come and speak to a group of students that were not honor society students. They did not opt into this programming that I was going to be presenting. They were just students who someone needed to be spoken to, right? And so I remember speaking to this group of students. And as I was speaking, they were on their phones, they were talking to one another, they were looking around. And as I was talking, I was like, I'm wasting my time. What I bring to the table, this is not who I need to be speaking to, because I'm not the guy who motivates people. Like, I motivate people. Like, you listen to my YouTube, you listen to my podcast, The Executive Pill. There are many ways that people find my content motivating, but my content is not meant for the person who doesn't want to be successful. My content and what I do is not meant for the person who needs someone to, grab them by the coat and pull them along. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who, if you want to be successful, you're willing to put in the work and you just need to figure out how to do it, then I'm here to help you. And so when I realized that point was like, okay, no more. I do not work with individuals who are kicking and screaming. If you want to be successful, let's do this. If you don't, find someone else to motivate you. I'm not that guy. And there are many people out there who do that. And that's a great thing they do. So this particular person in my mind, I'm thinking about rock star. The woman is an amazing rock star already. And her and I had a coaching relationship for a little over a year. And during that time, I challenged her on some very important things in her life and where she was, and so on and so forth, in regards to where she thought she wanted to end up. And she had some very difficult conversations with herself about it. I met with her because we still talk. She sends clients my way and so on and so forth. And we met a few months ago, and she shared with me that she was just, when we started, she was making what, $250 a year, somewhere like that. When we spoke, she's like, Alex, after our sessions, it's been crazy, Alex. It's just been like a rocket ship. She had bounced from like 250 to 350. And then she had, at the time we spoke, she had 2 different offers on the table for organizations that wanted to bring her in as either a CEO or another senior level executive, with the option to bring in $1 million within the next couple of years. And she's like, Alex, this would not have happened if you and I hadn't met, because I didn't realize that what I was doing was not in alignment with where I wanted to go. And so like those stories are so cool to see. Just, it's one thing to help someone feel good for a second. Emotions, right? Emotions are wonderful. They feel good, but emotions are temporary. I like results. Let's do the emotions. Let's have fun. Let's have a good time. We're going to laugh all the time. But if you don't have results, we wasted our time, because that's what's really important.
Right now, when you're working with your clients, do you find that there is a specific group of individuals that you typically work with? Now, we know it's executives and leaders, but do you find that they are of a certain industry or of a certain demographic, or have certain goals within themselves that kind of unify that? How would you describe the ideal client profile for you, for anyone who's listening? Because there might be a small portion, but some leaders could be listening.
Oh, no. I mean, that's the thing, is you have to talk to your people, right? And so, yeah, to your point, yes, we focus on executive leaders, SVP, VPs, chiefs of an organization's 50 to 75 million a year. Because again, scale, we're looking at what they're doing and the impact they can have on their organization. But when we kind of get into the details, many of them, this is actually really cool. Many of them are first-time executives. And why does that matter? Because first-time executives, being an executive is already lonely. It's already lonely because no one understands your job. Most people don't see you as a person. They see you as a position, or they say, oh, you must have money. You must have influence. Your life must be perfect. Go ahead. If you're crying about something, you're crying about it, but you go sleep on your dollar bills, right? That is how most people see executives. And this is why I wrote my most recent book, Unlocking the Executive Advantage, specifically for those executives who are first-time executives, because when you've been around and your parents have been around, so you can see they build that network around them, that when they have something that goes wrong, they can talk to these people, and these people understand more. They don't understand all the way, but they understand more. When you're a first-time exec and you're the first person in your family, in your circle, to be in these levels of influence and money and revenue, it's an even lonelier place, because your parents don't understand, your friends don't understand, your colleagues don't understand. You can't talk to your board about certain things. You can't talk to your boss or your peers. You have a target on your back. Someone wants your position. And it's not because people don't want to help you. It's because most time they just don't understand. And that's why we are able to provide the value to our clients, is because, again, we are not focused on just the emotion. Again, 100% recognize people's feelings, but I'm a truth teller. And we're going to have a conversation about what your current reality is and where you want to be and what steps and behaviors you need to implement in order to get there. My background is industrial organizational psychology. I've run executive leadership development programs for years. I've interviewed hundreds of executive leaders on my podcast. I've written now 4 books in the area of leadership development and organization development, and how to reach whatever goals you're trying to get to. We can address these issues from so many different ways, right? And that's the individuals who we're focused on.
Cool. And so for anyone listening that wants to understand how it's like to work with you, is there a certain program of a certain length? And I can imagine that the programs generally might be customized to the person, but how would you describe it?
So here's the thing. Over the years, I used to do more customization because everyone wants to feel special. However, after doing it for so many years, you start to learn what works and what doesn't work. And so creating and giving someone something that's not going to actually be successful, but makes them feel good for a second is not really helpful for me or them, because I want them to be successful, because if they're successful, then I'm successful and I'm successful. We're both successful. Everyone wins. Right. And so in regards to what things are consistent in our coaching programs, it's always at least 9 months, no less than 9 months, generally a year. And that's because behavior change doesn't happen in a month or 2 months or 3 months. And if you try to hold yourself to that standard, you're setting yourself up for failure and disappointment. So every engagement we have is nine months or more. Two, we always focus on what we call 4C. So that is mindset change, internal clarity, external clarity, behavior choice. Mindset change is understanding what is the mindset you currently have about your situation that you need to change and make sure that you can actually move forward in a successful way. Internal clarity is understanding, okay, now I understand this is important. I'm going to make some changes. What are my actual goals? Where do I want to be? What strengths do I have? What resources do I have access to? And so on and so forth. It's all about the internal. Then the third is external clarity. Now it's understanding, okay, this is where I'm trying to go. This is what I need. This is what I want. Cool. Who has it? Where are they at? How do I find them? How do I connect with them? And finally is behavior choice. Behavior choice is all about, how do I literally speak to these people? Do I send an email? How do I phrase it? Do I shake their hand, look at their eyes? Like all these things, there's so much psychology and research around how to influence people, how to make sure you're looking the best you can look for the situation you need to be in. And this is a very consistent model that we found to be very successful. Yes, there needs to be some sort of unique approach to each engagement. Like, for example, one of my clients just worked on a very specific thing where we had he was looking to reposition himself for a role outside of the current organization he was in. And so we had a shared Google document that we worked on: core values, his marketing, who did he talk to, very, very specific things. Whereas another client of mine, it just has literally ongoing challenges in the team where every single meeting is another situation. What happened here? What the secretary say? What did the directors say? It's all these different factors just make it different. But everyone always has at least 9 months to 12 months of coaching before we re-engage. And then everyone starts off with this 4C, as I shared: mindset change, internal clarity, external clarity, and behavior choice.
And so when it comes to marketing, which marketing channel would you say is working best for you right now in terms of either executives finding you or you finding them? I can imagine that executives find you through referrals too from previous clients that you worked with. But is there any specific marketing channel that you're utilizing right now?
Actually, most of my clients over the years have all been organic. So me being out speaking somewhere, I do a lot of public speaking. GPS Leadership Solutions really focuses on two different areas. One is the executive coaching. Two is executive retreats, specifically working with the team to help them reach a goal. And so we'll bring in someone from the executive retreat and they say, wow, we need coaching. So let's bring that piece in. Or we'll have the coaching and say, great, let's work on the team. So we bring the retreat in. So really those two are the different places that we come from, as well as me at being out speaking and whatnot.
Cool. And first of all, I wanted to understand, because I forgot to ask this at the beginning, why is it called GPS Leadership Solutions? Why GPS?
Oh, that's cool. Not many people ask that question. So when I was younger when I started this off, and it was funny. I was on a train heading home, and I was talking to a mentor. I just got locked down to speak at this event. It might have been the White House at that point in my career. And I needed to come up with some sort of like structure to the speech I was going to give. And she was kind of talking me through, okay, what are you going to talk about, Alex? I'm like, well, the first thing is like, you got to understand, where you're going, like what your goals are. You got to understand that. And she's like, okay, great. What are you going to talk about next? I'm like, well, after that, you know where you're going. So you need to put a plan in place. You need some sort of route to get you there. She's like, okay, great. So keep going. I was like, okay. And then you need, to make sure, like, in the real world, is not just about having a plan and having the right qualifications. Like, it's about political savvy, about understanding who has influence, who do you need to be connected to, and so on and so forth. And she said, oh, so like your strategy? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so what you're saying is GPS: goals, plans, strategy. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so cool. So that's where GPS leadership came from. As long as you have the right goal, you'll have the right plan and the right strategy, you'll be successful. Over the years, I've changed that S to mean, instead of strategy, because we now include strategy in the planning section. So yes, what's your plan? And also, what are the politics around what's going on in your world? So that S now stands for stamina, because if you want to be successful, it's going to take a lot out of you. Like, it is not easy. You're going to grind. People are going to come after you. People are not going to like you. And if you don't have the stamina, you'll never reach your goals. So goals, plans, and stamina.
Interesting. Initially, I thought it was a creative way of saying how to navigate leadership challenges or leadership goals, or your executive goals, but it could mean that too, right? In a way.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
My
Amazing.
first book was called the GPS Guide to Success, and it was specifically about how to navigate the world to reach your goals. That was my first book. And now, again, I've written now 4, my most recent being Unlocking the Executive Advantage and Relationships That Work.
Cool. Amazing. So right now, what is the goal for you, or do you have any specific goals for the next 1 to 3 years with GPS Leadership Solutions? How do you see it in the horizon for you?
Yeah, my goal for the company is, I think, I'm trying to focus on the next thing. I don't need to think, 3 moves, 4 moves, 10 moves out. What is the next thing? The next thing I'm working on, and hopefully we'll figure out in the coming months, is actually outbound marketing. Again, we have been very successful and blessed with finding amazing clients, either from referrals or they see me speaking. But if we want to help more leaders and grow the team, we need to be a little more structured, as in a little more reliability in regards to who's coming through our doors. Again, like I shared, I moved from a place where I was working with just many different leaders and senior leaders, and now we're at a place where we are focused on VPs, SVPs, and chiefs, and so we're at a very high level. And so we're trying to make sure that now, again, this is not any negative about anyone who doesn't qualify. It is that we need to be very specific on who we're working with, because we want to help them at the best possible. And so we're now trying to be very intentional with our marketing pipelines, that we are capturing those specific people who are ready and looking for our services. And those individuals who are not there yet, how do we push them to other resources so they can still reach their goals? Whether, again, it be our podcast, whether it be our books, whether it be our online courses.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So right now, do you have a team that is helping you out, or is it mostly you at the moment?
I have a team who's helping me out, and I'm working with another marketing organization. I'll just say, because some of y'all might know him. Alex Hermosi.
Mm-hmm.
The guy and his team is amazing. I was out there with them last February doing some stuff, and it was just the content, the advice, the strategy they share in such a small amount of time was amazing. So working with them, as well as some other contractors.
Cool, amazing. I've actually never met someone that's working directly with Alex. Well, who doesn't know Alex? So yeah, Alex is working with Alex. So cool.
I'm working with myself.
Yeah, that is so funny. So in terms of investments, what would you say have been over the years? Because right now I'm assuming there's also a good investments also with Alex, but over the years, what have been some investments that you feel like, oh, that actually was a good investment? And this goes back to my research on what some good investments could be, or maybe some bad investments as well, if there's any.
Now, you're not going to like this answer, but I think all of my investments have been good investments. And, I'll give some examples. Like, there is this one organization who I honestly felt like, man, I just burnt money. Like, I just threw money in a garbage can and set it on fire, because they pitched themselves to do certain things. And when they implemented it, it wasn't implemented the way that they said it was going to implement. And it was very annoying, to say the very least, right? And money is, when you're running your own business, like money, you don't just throw money out the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what that did teach me is to be much more selective with who I work with, talking to their clients, like getting some, like, just, I became so much more aware of, when I partner with organizations after that I needed that. And then there are organizations, like, again, I'm not calling the organizations out because I don't want them to see any any bad light, that the person I work with in the organization, she helped me create my first really nice branding document with my color scheme and the word choice and all that stuff. And that was really helpful to a point. And then the services they provided were not taking me to the next level. So I found another organization, and they supposed to help me get to the next level, and they were help me professionalize and so on and so forth. And that was really, really great until I outgrew that, and I got to another organization. And so, and in regards to investments, I think you do have to look at everything as, look, this is the best I could do at this time, maybe, right? This is the best I could do at this time. And maybe I've outgrown these things. It's not bad, but just maybe it's for someone else who's at that level, at that period in their career, right? Or in their period of their growth. And so now I'm working with Alex Hormozy, right? That's a big jump. But there's also expectations that we plan on having through working through that. I would say, as long as you learn from your investment, as long as you learn from it, there is no bad investment, because you taught yourself either what to do or what not to do. If you don't learn from it, then every investment is probably bad, because you're just gambling, throwing money everywhere.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's actually a very good answer. I'm not trying to find bad investments per se. Just sometimes there could be things that, like from our research, for example, one of the investments that's just, maybe it's not a bad investment, but in terms of ROI, or like the actual return you get from it, it has not been as great. That has been the like the advanced certifications that coaches are going after nowadays. Certain certifications is just like putting, I'm not like obviously there's some learning going on in it, but it's not like your clients specifically will actually say, oh, you're not certified on that, I'm sorry, we cannot work together, or something like that. It's not really like, when you think about it, does it really pay off, or is it just a nice to have? And it seems like it's more on the nice to have side. But there's the other thought that I've gotten on the podcast, is that some coaches have to do those certifications because certain companies that they work as subcontractors for require them to have that. But if you're working individually, it seems like more of a nice to have. Let me know if you have any strong thoughts on that.
I have very strong thoughts on this. There's a couple things. First, I did not list that as a bad investment, because I don't believe that I've made that investment. So I couldn't say it was a bad investment. Let me take that step back. I did. So there is this thing called John Maxwell, is big in the leadership realm. And I was like, oh, John Maxwell leadership conference, and you come away certified as a certified speaker and coach and blah, blah, blah. And I think I paid like maybe $5,000, and like the training was like maybe $3,000, paid for my hotel, flight, everything. So maybe five altogether. That was an amazing use of my time and dollars, because I learned so much at that conference. And what I'll tell people, where people mess up, is they'll go to a conference like that and they're like, oh my God, I'm in awe, all this training and this leadership stuff is great. Oh, wow. That's not what you should be focused on. Okay. What was amazing for me to be there is to see the business operation. How was the customer service? How they were consistently finding a way to get people to buy books or buy this or buy like that. From a business owner standpoint, you need to be looking at like John Maxwell and all those big people. Like, how are they going about selling people? Because that's a very different thing than coaching. Coaching is very different than having a business. And a business means you have to sell, because you can't help anyone if they don't buy it first. So I think that was a wonderful investment, just because I got to see how amazing, very fine-tuned business worked in real life. Now, has anyone ever asked me for a certification? Absolutely not. I've never had anyone ask me for a certification. Any of my clients ask me for a certification. Yes, if you're working with government agencies, things like that, sometimes they put in those classes, you got to be ICF certified or things like that. My personal belief around this is that those organizations lobby to have these organizations take these certifications and whatnot. Why? Because they get money, right? They get paid.
Yeah.
And so I think there is some self-servingness that goes on there. But I'll also tell you this, and this is, again, I like to have a real conversation. I know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
I've been doing executive leadership development for the last 13 years. I've written 4 books in the area. I'm an industrial and organizational psychologist. I know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people out there who do not know what they're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, I encourage you to do 2 things. One, learn, go do something, and not just read a book, because real life is very different than a book. All these theoretical ideas, they sound good. They sound really good until someone punches you in the face, right? And so that's what makes me so valuable to my clients, is that, yes, I understand the theoretical stuff, but I also have been there. I've been an executive. I work with these leaders. So one, if you don't know what you're talking about, go figure it out. Go learn something. Because what ends up happening is, if you don't know what you're talking about and you go out there and you hurt someone, you may make a lot of money doing it. There are a lot of people on YouTube who make a lot of crazy money advising people poorly. But all that does is, one, hurt that individual, but also hurt every one of us who are in this industry, because then those people get tinted shades saying, oh, well, if that person was a fraud, then is this person a fraud too? And you just make it harder for everyone. So I encourage you, if you don't know what you're talking about, just go learn. Go learn and then go out there and do it. You don't have to have all the certifications, but learn and then let people know as you're growing, hey, look, I'm very passionate about this. This is the experience I have doing this. I love to help you. And I'm going to provide you a reduced price, because that allows you to get reps and you get better at it. Then you can go serve more people. But don't act like you're the Don Dada if you haven't done this stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that great point, that you're hurting the industry by just like not being able to deliver on what you're promising, especially for other people that could have actually delivered on what you were promising.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Right now, what would you say is a challenge for you? What is a challenge that you're trying to solve for next? Or let's say, what are you and Alex trying to solve for next? I'm wondering if there's like, yeah.
No, it's the outbound. It's the
Hmm.
consistent lead generation. There's a book I just finished reading. No, I haven't finished. I'm just about finished reading it, actually. It's called Oversubscribed. The author is wonderful. If you see him on YouTube, entrepreneur, amazing dude. And that's where we want to and need to be. We want to be at a place where we have to turn down clients. That's where we want to be. Because if we're operating from a place where we're turning down clients because we are fully serving the people who we say we're going to serve, that means that you're never in a situation where you're saying yes when it should be a no. I don't want to ever be in a situation
Mm.
where I'm saying yes when it should be a no, but because I don't got this, because I have team members to pay, I have vendors to pay. Like, there are people who depend on me to bring in work and resources. And I don't
Hmm.
want to ever be in a situation where I have to say yes where it should be a no. And that's why we're focused on this pipeline.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, initially you flood and then you pick who you want to work with. So that makes a lot of sense. And now, just as a final question, because this has been great, but I know we're also on a time limit, what advice would you give to other coaches who are looking to scale their impact?
I'll give the same advice that Alex Hermosi gives. First, solve rich people problems. Look at business in large. You have organizations that are very successful because they serve a few number of people at a higher price, higher value price. And you have people who are like Walmart, and you serve a much larger group of people, but lower quality, right? And which one do you think is actually more difficult? It is so much more difficult to be at Walmart, because you have to find every single way to reduce the price, to make everything got to be most efficient, most practical, most, like, everything has to be so tight in order to make a profit when you're serving at a super low price, versus upskilling yourself and providing a smaller number of people with the exact thing that they need to be successful at whatever it is. So I would, one, tell them to just sell more expensive stuff. Because again, I started off selling at a lower rate, and it made my life very, very difficult. And because it was so difficult, it's hard to even serve at the level I wanted to serve.
Hmm.
Two, I would say, speak to your people. And especially if you are someone like me, who you truly care about helping people, you truly care about wanting people to be in a better place and situation. I can help that person, I can help that person, I can help that person, I can help that. But if you help everyone, then you help no one. Right? That was the saying. If everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. Right? And so what I have found for myself is again, this is hard for me. I got to keep pull myself back to my center. Who do I serve? I serve those individuals. Now, does that mean I can't help other people? No, but it does mean I prioritize my time and space and energy and resources on the people I serve. And yes, the other people can watch my YouTube. They can watch my podcast, The Executive Pill. They can read my book, Unlocking the Executive Advantage, or Relationships at Work. There are so many other ways to serve other people, but you gotta talk to your people.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you for coming to the podcast today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn and look up Alex Tremble. They'll be able to find you there. I believe there's also a website.
gpsleadership.org. That is gpsleadership.org. And again, I know you're going to wrap up, so I'll just tell everyone my bye. I encourage you all to stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. I wish we could have had a longer conversation, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.